guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah tells the story of two sisters against the backdrop of Nazi-occupied France. Vienne fights a silent war as German soldiers take over her house, and she's forced to live with the enemy, all the while doing everything in her power to help her daughter and her neighbors. Isabelle fights the war of resistance and takes the risk of helping escort downed airmen across the French border. This is the untold story of the resilience of women during World War II and the power of love and family. Whew, yeah guys, this novel, what a journey this novel puts you through. Just such a breathtaking, heartbreaking, but just a novel at the same time kind of full of life and hope. And yeah, this is a novel that's about love and death and pain and misery, but hope, and yeah, family and friends and sisters, and yeah, it's a novel about all of these things, you know, during this backdrop of Nazi-occupied France during World War II. And yeah, it's about this relationship between these two sisters who are very wildly different, and they see things in very different ways when it comes to the war and where they think they should help out in the war. But the thing is, little do they realize that, you know, they're both fighting the same war. You know, they're both fighting the same war without really realizing it, you know, despite their differing opinions. So first up, you have the character of Vienne. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Vienne. Vienne, she's the older sister. She has a husband and a daughter. And yeah, Vienne fights what I would term as the silent war. You know, she's fighting the war at home, essentially. Yeah, she has to deal with her husband being taken away as like a prisoner of war, essentially. And then in the meantime, over the course of the novel, she has a couple different German soldiers or officers live in her house, so she has to deal with living with the enemy who is right there. And yeah, she's doing everything in her power to help herself and her daughter stay alive, make it day by day. And she's also trying to do everything in her power to help out her neighbors. One of her neighbors being a Jewish woman, and she has some children as well. So the thing with Vienne, she feels like she has to stay low. You know, that's kind of her thing. She has to stay low, stay out of the way, because every time she does kind of get in the way, she makes things worse on occasion. So she kind of learns from her mistakes, and that she thinks she needs to stay low and away from the German soldiers and whatnot. But yeah, little does she realize that in helping like her friends and her neighbors, I mean, she is fighting back in her own way, but yeah, she doesn't see it as fighting back. And I mean, yeah, even her just protecting herself and her daughter, she is fighting in her own way. That's why I kind of call it a silent war. And yeah, her silent war, to me, I mean, that's just as courageous. You know, that's just as courageous as someone who's part of a resistance or someone who is in the war effort. You know, what she is doing is just as brave. And then the other main character in this novel is her sister Isabelle. Isabelle is younger, she's more feisty, she's more opinionated. She's definitely just much more wildly different than her older sister. And yeah, she's kind of been through a lot. You know, they both had a rough family upbringing together, but they both went their own different paths in some ways. And yeah, Isabelle's kind of a bit more wild in some ways and freedom loving. And yeah, Isabelle, over the course of the novel, you know, because she is so free-spirited, yeah, she's not taking no shit from anybody, you know. She don't care that there's a Nazi officer living in their house. She's just gonna say what she wants to say to this guy. And yeah, Vienne is like, hey, you need to calm down, because if you say the wrong thing to this guy, you know, we're all in trouble, and I don't want you to put me and my daughter in peril because of your opinions. And so yeah, Isabelle, I love Isabelle. I think she's easily my favorite character because of how feisty and spunky she is. And yeah, she fights the war of resistance. You know, Vienne stays home, she's fighting the war in that way, but Isabelle goes out there. She joins a resistance, and how she helps out. She's helping airmen, people like guys who have been hit up in the air by Nazi or German planes, and yeah, you know, they crash down, they're on the run. So yeah, she's helping these downed airmen get to a hiding place, a safe house, and then yeah, her and some other people of a resistance, they execute a plan, you know, to figure out a way to get over the French border. So yeah, Isabel is fighting a very, very dangerous war by helping out these downed airmen just get across a border, because she herself could die and be executed if caught. And that's kind of where the title of the book comes into play. The title of the book means a couple different things, because their last name, their French last name, Isabel and Vienne, it translates to Nightingale, but then Isabel herself, her code name within the resistance is the Nightingale. So yeah, that's kind of what the title is. It's a reference to the translation of their French last name, and then also her Isabel's code name, which I liked, because yeah, I was always curious. I was like, what does the Nightingale mean? What is that? It gets explained over the course of the novel. So I absolutely love the characters of Vienne and Isabel. I love their unique relationship with one another, because yeah, even though they're sisters, yeah, their relationship is very strained. You know, it's a very strange relationship between them. They love each other, but yeah, they both can kind of get on each other's nerves because of their different opinions with the war and whatnot and how they go about it. But yeah, their stories are both utterly gripping and moving and emotional, and you just go on this ride with them from beginning to end. And their stories are stories of desperation and survival. You know, the things that they're willing to do during this war to help out themselves and to help out others. And I loved Kristin Hannah's writing in this book. Her writing is just so beautiful and descriptive, and it has a nice smooth flow to it, I think. A really great pacing. Like, there's never a dull moment, I don't think. I was just constantly wanting to flip the page, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen in the next chapter? I need to know. And one of the great things that Kristin Hannah does with this novel, I mean, I love how she describes France, because before things do kind of go to hell, she describes, you know, this beauty of France. You know, when you think of France, you think of France a certain way, that it's all sunshine and rainbows and it's beautiful. But yeah, she describes that initially, but yeah, here comes the war, and you see France at its worst, that it's dark and dreary and gloomy and yet not so beautiful anymore, and it's kind of in ruins. So I love how she describes France in this, you know, both sides of that. And this is also a novel about the untold story of women during the war. That's how kind of Kristin Hannah puts it in her author notes at the very end, that she found out about a woman who was part of a resistance and whatnot, and that kind of inspired her to write this novel. Yeah, because oftentimes when it comes to World War II, we mostly hear about all of the men during the war and that side of things, and yeah, we don't often see too many women play pivotal roles in some of these novels when it comes to World War II. So she's really putting women at the front and their roles during the war, especially the women who are at home trying to fight, the women who are part of the resistance trying to fight. So yeah, if you like that sort of thing, I think you'll definitely like this. So let's get into a few of my negatives, and my negatives, they're really not that much, to be quite honest, because even on Goodreads, I still gave this book 5 stars, you guys. I freaking love this book. I still gave it 5 stars. But yeah, I did have a few like minor complaints that kind of got at me, that I was like, oh, I wish I could have been more. I mean, yeah, a complaint I had, I mean, my edition is almost 600 pages, but there's still a part of me that I was like, oh my god, I wish I had a couple hundred more. Because the novel does span the entire length of the war. You're not coming at it from like the end, you know. Kristin Hannah starts from the beginning to the very end. So yeah, there's a part of me, it's like, I wish the novel had been a couple hundred pages longer, because yeah, there's some years of the war that are just kind of flown by. And I'm going to get into a few things here, but I'm going to stay as far away from spoilers as I can, because this is a spoiler-free review. But another thing that I had a minor issue with was the Isabel and, is it pronounced Gaeton? I think it's pronounced Gaetan, G-A-E-T-A-N. I had to get on Google Translate and listen to a French person pronounce it, and I think that's how they were pronouncing it, was Gaetan. But yeah, the relationship between Isabelle and Gaetan, I loved it, I shipped it, but there was also still a part of me that I needed more page time with their relationship, because their initial meeting with one another is a bit rough and problematic in some ways, but it's like Isabelle kind of just falls head over heels in love with this guy, and then he loves her too, and it's never really fully explained, you know, how they just all of a sudden love each other. It's like that step is just missing totally for me, but I love their relationship. It was beautiful, but I needed more of it to kind of flesh it out and make a bit more sense and cohesive, I suppose, because it felt very, very rushed and out of nowhere. And then as far as another problem I had, once again, no spoilers here, but there's a scene where some characters are trying to cross a border control area. Someone gets shot and dies. And to me, there was a lack of emotion there. This scene in the book, it's very harrowing and shocking and like, oh my god, but it's kind of anticlimactic. It kind of just happens, and then there's this lack of emotion. It's very hard for me to explain, like I said, without giving away spoilers here, but there was just this lack of emotion that the characters were not feeling to me, because I was sitting there thinking, you know, this should be a moment where people are sobbing in hysterics, you know, but no one was like overreacting like how I expected them to, considering someone just got shot and died. So yeah, there were just moments like that throughout the novel, just little small moments that I felt like people should have been in hysterics. You know, like something traumatizing just happened and you're behaving like this, you know, like no feeling. So yeah, just little minor moments like that, a lack of emotion in places, because yeah, Kristin Hannah has great moments where it's very emotional and touching and gripping, but then there's other moments like she doesn't give certain moments the same weight, you know. So yeah, just little minor things like that. So yeah, you guys, that's it for my review of The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. Overall, I really love this book. Like I said, I gave it 5 stars. Just a very powerful, moving story about these two sisters in war-torn France during World War II, their relationship with each other and their relationships with others, and yeah, how they give to the war effort. You know, they give in very different ways, but they're fighting the same war, and yeah, just all sorts of terrible things happening to them and how it affects them. But yeah, at the core is definitely the relationship between the sisters. So yeah, you guys, have you guys read The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah? Do you want to read it? Have you read it? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this book review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.